they're not your thing. I
Yeah.
understand. Took
Yeah,
me
if
a
they're
long
not your
time
thing,
to
they're not your
figure
thing.
it out. Yeah.
But it's certainly nothing specific to you. It's that
Yeah.
I'm terrible with podcasts in general.
Good to see you, Katney. How have you been?
I've been all right. How you doing, Dave?
Hmm? They keep patching me up and putting me back together again. They can't get rid of me.
That's the way to do it.
Duct tape and chewing gum.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Dave
probably some
has
string in
been
there.
Dave has been coming to lunch. Uh, Jim and I have lunch every Saturday at Biwako down here in Ann Arbor slash Saline. And Dave has been coming.
Nice.
I'm pretty good at going to lunch. One of my things.
Especially when somebody picks you up and drops you off, right?
Yeah.
Every time I look at Zoom, it seems like it changed.
I kind
Control
of
finding
don't
things.
like user interfaces where you don't see anything at all until you're hovering over it.
Yeah,
I don't I don't feel like that's discoverable. I think
not
it's the
not
opposite.
intuitive. Yeah, it's not very intuitive. Jim P. Is that Jim Peterson?
Yes, it is. Hi, Jim.
Hey, how are you?
Hey,
Good. How
Jim.
are you?
Real good.
Hi, Wolf.
We should get Jim Peterson to join us for lunch.
Well, that would be fun. Yes.
Saturdays, 11 o'clock. If you can make your way to Ann Arbor.
Where do you live, Jim?
Grosse Pointe Park.
That seems far away.
Yeah,
A
but
little
it's
ways away.
it's hop on 94 and you're there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I-94 before Ann Arbor?
Well, we're south of Ann Arbor. We're
Okay.
like if you got up 94 at State Street and went south a couple miles,
Yeah.
and then
Okay.
and then went west, what about 2 miles on Michigan Avenue?
Yeah. The
Something.
actual restaurant is technically in Saline. It's Biwako Sushi, right
Hmm.
next to the Saline Imagine. We meet
Yeah,
Saturday at 11 a.m. You are
yeah.
welcome to show up
Oh, okay. Every Saturday?
Every
every
Saturday.
Saturday.
Wow. All right.
And even if one of us can't make it, where that one is, Jim, I'm still there.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
it's very close to Wolf's house. It's not very close to my house. I live in Waterford, so it's
Oh, okay.
it's it's a bit of a drive, but I don't mind. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's amazingly gratifying that Jim makes that drive every Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good time.
So your podcast is getting good subscribership, huh? You said it's doing very well.
Yeah, we're doing pretty well.
Okay. I gotta
Yeah, like
listen more
like
often.
like we had in Wolf's bio, so wildly successful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Wow, it's really taken off.
Yeah, well, wildly successful is kind of a term we
Optimistic.
throw around.
Hmm. Can you tell how many subscribers you have? Is that a
Well, we
like a
can't tell subscribers, but we can tell downloads, and I think at this point we're about 370. So
ah, okay.
that doesn't tell us subscribers.
Hmm.
But some of our episodes are very popular.
Oh,
And we've had some, I think, some really good episodes.
Yeah.
Um, one of the favorites is Jim talked about his experience moving from his own personal data center into the cloud.
Well, yeah, in fact, I gave that talk for Mud too.
Yep.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, like 2 months ago. Yeah, not long after we did the podcast episode.
Mm-hmm.
I
Oh,
think my favorite so far is that we did an episode on what exactly is cryptocurrency and how does it work.
Mm,
Yeah,
it's an
Because I
interesting
was
that was a
topic.
fun one.
I had all kinds of misconceptions about what it was. Crazy ideas. I didn't even know they were crazy. I thought I had a grasp on how it worked, and I was totally wrong.
Mm.
Yeah.
Is it Biwako Sushi
Yes.
That's the
on
one.
Michigan Avenue? Okay.
Yes.
I'll
And
put
I
it on.
promise you, even without me and Jim and probably Dave, even just you going alone, Biwako Sushi is worth the trip.
Oh,
If you like
okay.
sushi.
Yeah. Oh, I do.
Okay.
I'll pin it here so I can remember it.
One of my favorite rolls there is the Las Vegas. It has the tempura outer batter, whatever you call it. So it's regular sushi but dipped in tempura. It is really delicious. And if that's your style, but you also like it spicy, they make a really nice tempura fried sushi called the Mexican, and it has jalapenos in it.
Hmm. Wow.
So we'll expect to see you.
Yes. Okay.
That's all there is to it.
Yeah. 11 o'clock on Saturdays.
Yeah.
So you'll miss the MD Lug meeting at noon on
Oh,
Saturday.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, we missed that then.
Yeah, we tend to have the same group of 5 or 6 people show up. So
Is Dr. Bob still in those meetings?
no, he left a long time. He moved out and he moved back, but I don't know what happened to him now. But yeah, he moved out to get another job, and then he came back. And I remember one time he was at Penguicon for
Yep.
one of the events there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I haven't seen him for a while. Yeah, it'd be really interesting to have him talk about cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we
Yeah,
could
I
dig
wonder
him
what
up
he's
somehow.
up to. I haven't seen him since since we were at the library. And that was 2020, and it was probably a few years before that. Was the last time I saw him. 'Cause he
Yeah.
moved didn't he move to Georgia or something? And
I think so. I think it was North
Yeah.
Carolina.
yeah, something like that.
Mhm.
Anyway. Well, it's almost 6:40. Time to get started. Got a few seconds yet. But, I think we can get started. We got a pretty nice crew here today. So, welcome to the July 2025 Mug meeting. We're glad to see everybody here. We've got we got a pretty good presentation tonight. Wolf is going to be talking about the Helix editor. He's been using it for quite a while, and believe me, he's really excited about it. So he's gonna tell us why he's so excited about it. So that should be a lot of fun. And then I think before we start with him, we're going to talk a little bit about the LN command, simple little Unix utility LN for linking files. We'll get into that in just a minute. Dave, you want to talk about membership? You there? Are you awake?
Oh, yep. I'm
There he
still
is.
awake. Yep. Membership. Yeah. Once again, This is an open group, and everybody is welcome to participate however much they like, under no restrictions. It's open. We talk about open stuff, and we are an open group. At one time, we had some significant expenses when we were renting a room, and so we had memberships, and memberships are still available. You can become a dues paying member if you like. It's not necessary to enjoy our events, but if you like, you may. It's $50. It used to be $50 a year. Now it's just sort of plain $50 because we actually have enough money to cover the minor expenses that we have right now for quite a while. And so if you'd rather just not pay, then don't. And right now, all of our memberships don't expire. We're just kind of extending everybody 1 month every month. And right now it's a perpetual membership. If you want to feel like you're one of the people putting it on, one of the in crowd, you're very welcome to join. You can go to the website, use PayPal, and join up for $50. There's also a student membership for $10. Right now, the big advantage is that once a year you get to vote for the board of directors if you're a paying member. And they're really, really tight elections every time. So
Yeah. Yeah, six openings, 6 people.
6 openings, and you're
Pretty much
welcome to run for the
every
board.
year.
We'd love to have you.
Yeah.
So
And
if you feel so inclined to come on and be a dues paying member, and but don't let that inhibit your enjoying the meeting and participate in all the things we do.
Yeah, and if you are a member and you do happen to get a renewal notice that says you need to pay your $50 to renew, don't pay it. Just send an email to board@mug.org and let us know that you got that. So we still occasionally somehow an email gets out of the system, and we don't know how. And so then they renew, and they pay the $50 for renewal, and then we refund it. And in the end, the only people that make any money on that one is PayPal, because they keep, even if we refund the money, they keep their share. So if you happen to get a renewal notice, let us know, please. So thanks, Dave. That covers membership. Upcoming meetings. The one we have scheduled at this point is August. I should have had the calendar up already. The August meeting is, let's see, this is going to be August 12th. It's tentatively Sharon Kawani, and I'm hoping he's going to talk about file systems. He was here last month, and he volunteered to. He mentioned that he gave a talk for Semi-Slug on file systems, and he offered to give that talk here for Mug, and he knows a lot about file systems. Should be really good. So that's going to be August 12th. So that should be fun. Let's see, other Mug business. We do have some sponsors. Let me get to my sponsors page. We have PenguinCon. I think they're still sponsored. I don't know if they've paid us lately, but we're still going to consider them a sponsor. Altair Engineering, A2 Hosting. They provide our awesome web services for our website. No Starch Press. They give us freebies once in a while. When Craig was with us, he was great at dealing with all of the sponsorship stuff, getting freebies and stuff like that. We really need to pick that up again. Manning Press and Tilted Windmill Press. Tilted Windmill, that's Michael Lucas's thing, and he occasionally gives us little sponsorship things. So you can stay connected with us. We do have a mailing list. Announce at mug.org and discuss at mug.org. You can go to the website and see how to get signed up to those two. We also have our meetup group, which has like 1,046 people in it now. That's pretty exciting. It took us forever to get over 1,000, and then we started jumping up from there. So those are two great ways to find out about upcoming meetings. We're trying to get the announcements out every month, keeping the website updated. So yeah, you can contact us that way. If you have any questions for the board, if you want to see us talk about something, board@mug.org. If you just email us there, that'd be great. One of the things we like to do is talk about other organizations in the area that have meetings. And Gib, it's nice to have you on board tonight. You want to talk again just a little bit about your MDLUG?
Yes, thanks. So MDLUG, Metro Detroit Linux User Group. It's basically a group of 5 or 6 folks who get together. We're a larger group before, but with COVID and all that stuff, it's just been tough to get people to show up. So it's online only at noon. It'll be this Saturday, so it's the second Saturday of every month. And you can find the site. It's listed in the mug.org groups page, but the direct address is mdlug.org. And we'd be happy to have you come in. We're basically just talking about technical topics and computers in general and open source, and we'll go off into science and science fiction and anything people want to talk about. We had quite a lively discussion about AI this past month, so we're going to continue talking about AI, and we're actually walking through some examples of things that AI has done, and we were like doing things where we made some AI hallucinate, and that was kind of exciting. So it was, just having fun with computers and techie stuff like that. So please join us. Thank you.
That'd be great. Richard Jackson, do you want to say something about SemiSlug? Richard, I saw you had your hand up. I was kind of assuming that's what. We don't. If you're talking, we don't hear you.
Yes, now
There he is.
now you can hear me. Yes,
Yes.
we have some interesting topics coming up. Southeastern Michigan Computer Organization. And the topics coming up are the following. Hold on one moment. The first thing that's coming up is Beginner's Guide to Understanding Binary Logic and Encryption, presented by Jeff Panian. Jeff is an engineer with a BASEE from University of Michigan, and I won't bother reading all the rest because I don't want to monopolize the whole meeting. But then, even more amazing, part of the same meeting, Network Analyzer Demo, presented by Shawan Kirwani. That's our Linux portion of our meeting. And then the following month in August, and we always meet the second Sunday of the month, July 13th will be this one, but also in August, we are having Quantum Computing Architectures, Feynman's Wonderful Problem. And this is a presentation done by an expert that's part of University of Michigan. And so I think it's going to be a very interesting thing. Our meetings are available. Excuse me, my phone's going wacko. One more ring and it'll stop. Okay. Now, you can find out about our meetings at semco.org. Also, we meet in person at i3 Detroit, a makerspace in their classroom, but we also simultaneously meet on Zoom. So you can join our meeting with Zoom. Even the folks in Lansing can join our meeting in Zoom. And you just go to semco.org, scroll down a little bit, about 3 or 4 inches, I think, and you will see, click here to be connected to the meeting. We meet the second Sunday of each month, in this case on the 13th. Zoom opens up at 1 o'clock. Meeting starts at 1:15. Presenter comes on at 1:30. I think these next two meetings are going to be worthwhile for even advanced people like you guys to enjoy and to join and have fun.
It's excellent. Thank you. Um,
By the way,
so
one thing to mention, our meetings are free and open. You can come as much as you want and never pay a dime.
that's
We do
excellent.
enjoy it when some people decide to become a member for $30 a year.
Yeah,
But you can come as much as you want for the rest of your life and never pay a dime as long as we still exist, of course.
yeah. Well, it still exists. I was going to semi-slug meetings back in like 1985. So 40 years. Yeah, you got longevity on your side.
Yes, we've been around since 1976.
Wow. Wow.
That's when
That's
the
pretty
first
good.
personal computer came out that you could purchase an Altair 8800. You spent about $400, got a box full of parts, and you went to work with a soldering
Yeah.
iron.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Richard. So that kind of covers the business that we needed to do. We try to keep the business end short so we can get into the awesome content. And for the past several months now, we've tried to have little talks on Unix utilities, things we use every day. So not everybody's familiar with them. And this month we're going with the LN utility link for linking files together. And we for these little talks, we usually don't have any kind of prepared thing. We just sort of talk about it. I'm going to start the conversation. I'm going to share a window here. Let's see if I can figure out which window. It's one of
And
these.
by the way, while you're sharing,
Yeah.
give permission to other people to share also.
I already did.
Oh, good.
I did that when I started the meeting going, why am I not, oh, I want, let's see, screens. Why am I not seeing? It drives me crazy. Zoom. It's one of these windows. Let me close that one so I don't have that window anymore. Do this. Zoom is very slow. There we go. Okay. Share that. Okay. Can you see my screen? Is the font size okay? Everybody see it okay? Should I?
Looks good.
Okay, so the LN command, quickly, I'll just do a man on it. It's for linking files. You have a file in the file system and you want to give it 2 names or 3 names or 4 names, whatever you want. We're going to talk about just normal links, hard links, and we're going to talk about soft links or symbolic links. We'll talk about those in just a second. But basically, I have a file in my directory just called hello.txt. All right, there's one file, it's got the word hello in it. I could very easily link it, give it another name. Goodbye. Now I have 2 files. Goodbye.txt, hello.txt. They both contain the same information. In fact, they are both the exact same file. They're not copies. They are literally the same file. And the way Linux and Unix file systems work is there's this concept of an inode, and it's the inode that really represents the file. The name is just a directory entry that points to that inode. So you can list inodes on your system by doing an ls minus I. Let's do IL, okay? And that gives me my 2 files. And look, the inode number is the same between them, okay? And you see this column here that says 2? That means there are 2 links to this file, or two directory entries pointing to that inode. I can make another link. Let's see, hello text to hey there text minus li ls minus li. Now look, there's 3 links. They're all the same inode. So I got three file names pointing to that the same file on disk. And you might be asking, why would you want to do that? And we'll cover that in just a minute. I can, and there's nothing special about any of these files, right? The file that I created first was hello.txt, but there's nothing special about it. It's just the first entry I created. I can remove hello.txt, and both of my other files are still there. Now the link count went down to 2. It's still the same inode number. It's just the hello.txt directory entry went away. The other 2 are still there. The file doesn't actually go away until all links are removed. So if I remove hey there, it's still there, minus li, right? Cat goodbye still contains hello. So that file exists. The contents of that file exists until I remove the last link to it. So if I remove cat, if I remove goodbye, obviously there's no more files in my directory. So it's gone. I'm going to create it again. So ls minus I, if I do that, ls minus li, there's my new inode. It's a different file. It's only got 1 link, right? 6 bytes, and that's its name. So those were hard links. And there's a limitation about hard links. They have to all be within the same file system. I've got a lot of file system. Well,
Can I ask you a weird question?
Sure.
So I see the inode. Can you can ls directory entries and see what's in the directory. Are there things you can do just knowing the inode? Like you can cat a directory entry. Can you cat an inode? Like what can you do?
I don't think so. Like, can I do something with that inode number X without talking about the file name?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I honestly don't know. You made a interesting point though about directories. That my current directory is dot because it's right. That's here. We'll get out of here. 2025-07-08 is my current directory. That's the directory I'm playing in, right? I can cat. How do you? I know on Linux I could do. I'm on Mac OS right now. I used to be able to cat a directory entry.
Put an asterisk. Asterisk.
What's that going to do?
It allows you to see the whole thing.
No, I want to actually. I don't want to see the. I don't want to get a directory listing. I want to dump the contents of that directory because that directory is nothing more than a special file.
Yeah,
right?
well, so the cat command uses file list, and I think if the @ sign, the asterisk is on there, it'll list it as the whole file, all the files in there. I think.
No, cat. Well, what it would do is kind of act like a
vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, see, it's still a directory. I know I used to be able to actually dump the contents of a directory, and you could see the inode number and the file name. It's just a listing. On some file systems these days, though, directories are stored not as just a plain file. They're stored as a like in a B tree or an index list. So it could be that Mac OS, that's what's happening here. I'm not sure how directories store their data. Anyway,
I think it's ls dash capital L and the directory name. Or I guess that'll tell you the directory name itself.
Yeah, that won't actually show me the contents of the directory. Yeah, years ago I used to do that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So Jim,
yeah.
On links, with the practical, going back to links, would the practical use of that be, like software wants to see a local directory, a local file in a local directory, but you could address something off on a NAS or somewhere else? Would that be the practical use of linking?
Well, for a hard link, no, because hard links can't span file systems. They can span directories within a file system, but they have to all. They're pointing to an inode within your current file system. You can't make like, for instance, I think my temp. Make my screen a bit wider here. I think yeah, it's that's a different file system. So I can't like I got a file called hello.txt. I can't link hello.txt to /temp/hello.txt. Well, I say I can't, but I think it's acting like it's on the same file system. Wolf, what's another file system on Mac OS? Do you know? Let's tell you what.
So
let's do this
Mac
on a Linux
OS
box.
isn't like Linux. I don't think it has other file systems that you can easily address.
Okay.
But if there are, then you could probably see what they are named by looking at disk utility.
The Mac disk utility, yeah. Okay. I'm on a Linux box now. If I can type correctly. I'm on a Linux box, and I've created a temp directory on another file system. So if I create a file to hello.txt, and then I try to ln link that to /serve/temp/hello.txt, it won't let me do it, right? It failed to create a hard link because it's cross device or cross file system. It won't let me do that. So the idea of using a hard link, like to grab the link to like a file on a NAS device, you can't do that. But you can do soft links or symbolic links. And the way you do that is the ln command, you just put an S in front of it as the first argument. And now I don't have permission. Hang on just a second. Now I've created a link in /serve/temp. All right. In fact, let me get into /serve/temp. And if I list it that way, it'll be even more obvious. Oh, okay. Hang on a second.
It looks like you're linking the file to itself there.
Yeah, I did. I did the arguments backwards.
Which happens all the time.
It happens to me all the time. I
ln.
get confused.
Yeah, I have to look up ln every single time I use it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So here, let's do this. Nope. FC. How do I? I'll just do this. Remove /serve/temp/hello.txt. I already removed it. Okay. So let's link /serve/temp/hello.txt to hello.txt.
I think it goes the other way. The
Well,
source
that's how
comes.
I did it the other way the first time.
The source comes first, and then the destination.
That's how I did it the first time. Okay. Cat /serve/temp/hello. Too many levels. So let's go look at the man page on. let's see. LN option, target and link name. So yeah, so the thing out in
Target.
serve temp should go second.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is even harder on Windows. You can't do it in Git Bash for Windows. You also have to turn on developer mode, which is one of the settings in system settings or whatever system settings is called on Windows. I can't remember. And you have to do it from command.exe. I mean, I suppose PowerShell can probably do it too.
Yeah,
I just
would
don't
think
know
we'd have
anything about PowerShell.
I didn't even know you could do it at all in Windows. But I guess you have to have super special powers to be able to do it. Anyway, I am in the /serve/temp directory, and I was able to create the symbolic link by specifying the complete path to my target, and then giving it a name in my current directory. Okay, so if I'm in my current directory, you can see in /serve/temp, there's a file called hello.txt. It's a symbolic link. I can tell that because here's like a pointer notation, and that's the real file right there. But what's interesting is look at the inode count. It's only one. And if I look at the inode itself, that's the inode it is in the serve/temp directory /home/jam/mug/hello. It's a different inode number, right? And they both only say there's one.
And there's an L to indicate that it's a soft link in the left column.
But isn't there an L even when it's a hard link?
I don't think so, no. Because it's just another pointer to an inode. So it's like a regular.
Because when it's a regular, yeah, you're right. When it's a regular link, it's not an L, it's just a regular file.
Yeah.
Yeah, good call. Yeah. Okay. My inode count is 2. These two are actually the same file, just two different file names for the same file. And I still have my /serve/temp hello.txt pointing to hello.txt.
By the way,
So,
if you make
what's that?
If you make a soft link, ln-s that /serve/temp and call it something new in your current directory, space, and then just give it some name.
Okay, so ln-s
space. No, the /serve/temp going to make a soft link to that directory, and then that's it. And then back delete that hello.txt, and then space and call it some new name for a directory like.
Yeah, symbolic links will let you do
like,
direct.
Just like new dir, just call it new dirs.
Don't you need a capital L for that somewhere? Minus capital L. I'm not sure.
That's on. I was going to show you now. If you want to get a listing of the files in NuDir, you use ls-l capital L and the NuDir.
Okay.
And that actually follows the link.
Yeah, it's a little confusing because the link is basically pointing to our current directory. But I get your point, and the way to follow a link is with a -L.
The capital
L,
ls
command. Yeah, capital L.
If you cd into NuDir, the shell will tell you you're in NuDir unless you say PWD minus capital L, right? That's the
All
one
right,
that
just-
to
Ah.
where you really are, right?
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure.
Well, I know PWD. Try PWD and see what it
yeah, just a
says.
second. My VPN dropped and
Oh,
it came
okay.
back up, and I'm waiting for it to. There we go. I gotta log back in. Okay. Neuter is pointing to the directory on the other file system.
Yeah.
So what we
CD to new dir, and then
Yeah.
PWD.
And that should say new dir.
Yeah, and then
no,
echo
yeah, it does.
And
echo
now say
dollar
PW.
yeah, echo dollar CWD. Current lowercase current working directory. Oh,
PWD minus capital L.
okay.
No, it's not
Hmm.
that either.
Hmm. Is it capital CWD? No. Maybe I'm thinking of a different shell that
Yeah.
has.
Yeah. Anytime I run a
Minus
command,
capital P. PWD minus capital P.
there you go.
There it is.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you the same question I have asked you before.
Yeah.
Mostly not for me, mostly for everybody else.
Right.
Why would I ever use a hard link when I could use a symbolic link?
Well, symbolic links, when I first started with Unix back in 85, 86, symbolic links didn't exist. They were kind of a new thing. They didn't exist on the old System 5 file systems. They didn't come around for a couple of more years. So all we had back then was hard links. The thing about hard links, as I showed you, there are multiple names for the same file. And there's nothing special about any of them. I can delete one and the file is still there. And the file sticks around until I delete the last hard link for that file. Soft links are different, right? Symbolic links are a little different. If I, let's see, this is confusing. I'm just going to change to the serve temp directory, right? And there you can see that we have hello.txt is pointing to that thing in my home directory, right? If I remove that thing in my home directory, my link still exists. I've got color turned off. Normally this would show up red.
LS that. You're right.
What's
minus color equals auto. No S, color.
Okay, okay, hang on. My VPN kicked out again. I have a crappy VPN. It causes me all kinds of trouble. Yeah. See, it's red because it's a broken link. The link still exists, but the thing it points to is no longer there. So this is a case where I've got a file name, but the thing it points to is missing. So
if you try to cat it, you get some sort of an error, right?
Yeah. Probably a file not found. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
No such file or directory. Yeah. So that's one of the things about symbolic links. You got to be careful. I know there's some cases I think where temp files get created in the temp directory by software, and this is an interesting one. A temp file can get created in a directory, and you can open the file in your program. Then you can delete the file, but the file still exists on disk because something has it open. So the name of the file is gone. That's like the only link that you had. And if you delete that only link, as long as you have that file open, the file still exists. Yeah, I don't know if there's a way to attach a name to it's kind of like an orphaned inode.
Yeah, there is, you get into inode management hell. So yeah, there is a way of doing it. I don't remember what the details were, but I remember there was some app I was working with that kept doing that to
Yeah.
me. I had to chase
Yeah.
it down,
Yeah.
finding where they were and then using inode, I don't even remember what the commands were to track them down and delete them.
Yeah, I don't have any inode utilities. Yeah, I certainly didn't mean node. That's a whole different thing. But yeah, there are some utilities for managing inodes and playing with them, and it's kind of neat stuff. Anyway, one of
I
the
have
places. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a
Yeah.
perfect use for hard links
Okay,
to Wolf's question.
let's see if it
I
matches
use
mine.
rsync as an incremental backup utility.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
back up to an external hard drive, and I just make a new directory using the date, whatever the date is, and then assuming that usually every backup that you make, 98% or more of the files are going to be the same. The hard links just keep accumulating in each subdirectory for each date, and you use hardly any new disk space
Yeah, it's
for
kind of
each
a
backup.
deduplication strategy.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Software like Backup PC does that heavily.
Just
Mm-hmm.
like Git.
Does Git do that too?
In Git, there's a distinct object for each file
Yeah.
or directory, and it's based on a hash. So if the file doesn't change, that same object represents it. So when you commit a brand new tree, 98% of the files didn't change, and they just reuse the same old objects. It's exactly the same as the backup strategy you're describing.
Okay. Let's see if this is still true. It used to be type. Let's see. Yeah, type gzip. That's user bin. Oh, they don't do it this way anymore.
It is that way in Homebrew. A lot of the stuff in Homebrew bin
Yeah,
really
but
points to something else.
Yeah, but those are usually soft links, right? And I guess it doesn't really matter if it's a hard link or a soft link. But if you write a program, let's say you write a program in C, because I used to do that a lot. You can write a program, and then the program can check its own name to see what it was called as. So what they used to do, like, see, gunzip is a symbolic link to something else. I don't know what what else is got that. I know. Let's see if we can find it. So it's that inode. So the only way I know of finding these 6038. Okay, uncompress and gunzip have the same inode. They are the same command. They're just two names for the same command. Okay, they probably behave differently when you run it one way versus the other. Yeah, in fact, they're telling us here, and well, they're listing them all three in the manual. Notice I ran help or man on uncompress, and I got the gunzip man page. Anyway, you could have a program that does a lot of things, and probably the biggest one I know of that does so many things. Are you guys familiar with the BusyBox set of tools?
Yep, that's what I was going to say. BusyBox.
BusyBox is one binary.
Yep.
With like 35 different names.
Mm-hmm.
And you can run the BusyBox binary. You can call it BusyBox, then you can pass an option to it to tell it what you want it to be. BusyBox is like a really tiny set of Unix utilities, like cat and ls, and I think there's probably a gzip in there. There's just so many things. Make dir. All those commands are really inside of one binary. and the binary acts differently based on how you called it, what name you called it as. So they just create a whole bunch of symlinks. They give the single binary name like ls and a name of cat and echo and everything else. And so depending on how you call that binary, it behaves differently. Kind of a
Vim
neat
does
little
that
trick.
too.
Does it? Yeah, Vim does. Vim looks at its name to figure out how it should behave. I've been using Vim for a long time, and my fingers still type VI. I never type Vim. I always type VI, and I know it causes it to behave in a different way. I just haven't trained my fingers yet.
The DDWRT router software uses BusyBox.
Yeah. It's great for small embedded things. When I was doing LTSP, we used BusyBox for that. If you know anything about the initial root, the initial file system that gets booted when you boot a Linux box, it starts off booting this little tiny file system with some utilities on it and a bootloader on it and stuff. That is usually, at least back when I was playing with it, that was BusyBox. It's a very tiny binary that has all kinds of capabilities. Instead of having, a big binary command, a separate file for every utility, it's just one file with a bunch of names. So, have we strayed enough from LN, or is there anything else you guys want to talk about with
Yes.
the LN command?
On your Mac, you did an ls-l, and there was an @ at the end of the mode flags. What is the significance of @?
I don't know. Wolf, do you know?
Neither do I.
I think I looked it up once, and I learned it once, but it's been purged from my memory.
Okay. It's probably Mac specific.
It might be BSD because Mac is kind of BSD, right?
Okay.
It doesn't show up that way on Unix, on Linux rather. Let's see. What am I trying to do? Let's search for. No. Maybe if I give it a. Let's try this. Let's see. I think that's saying it's going to put the @ at the end of the symbolic directory, not at the end of the mode of the file.
Yeah.
Try continuing on the search for next.
Yeah. Well, right here. Let's see if the -%. Let's see the long format.
Extended attributes?
Do you see that?
I see it in the paragraph above where you were. The long format, that paragraph.
Well, it says, yeah, it's gonna.
Field printed by the L option is followed by the
there it is.
character.
Yeah, if the file has extended attributes, the permissions field printed by the -L is followed by an @ character. So the file has extended attributes. Who's familiar with that?
I've
never
heard
heard
it. I don't know
Yeah.
what things are extended attributes.
It might be a BSD thing.
Yeah. I'm just going to Google it real quick. Mac
Like-
OS extended.
Files that start with dot are normally invisible to any shell, but I think there's an actual invisible attribute that is an extended attribute.
Linux has extended attributes too. Use the xadder command. Right. Metadata stored with the file was separate from the file system attributes, such as the modification time or size. Anyway,
Yeah, okay, I remember using that once when I needed to have a file, like creation time on a file, and then the modified time. And
Yeah.
it was, yeah, so you can manipulate things like that.
yeah, that might be another interesting thing we could cover another night. I don't want to bog down too much. I know Wolf wants to get going with his Helix talk. Anyway, anything else you guys want to talk about with LN before we move on?
I posted some notes on the inode manipulation commands. But if you're in there, then you're in hell anyway. So
Yeah,
try to avoid
yeah.
it, I guess is what I'm saying.
And oddly, with Zoom, since I'm presenting my screen, I can't see the chat, so I'm going to stop sharing. Yeah. Oh yeah. LS adder, all the good stuff. A stat command. Yeah, that's right. Stat. I'm used to the library call, system call for stat. But anyway, it was kind of an interesting thing talking about linking files. Wolf, are you ready to talk about Helix?
Yeah. Let me share my screen. I don't know for the first 2 minutes or so if sharing my screen matters all that much. But let me share it.
Okay.
I've got a thing in the way on my screen. So let me move that out of
You
the
know,
way.
that stupid little thing in the lower left corner.
I hate that thing.
It's quite annoying. Yeah. You're going to
So-
want to go with a bigger font size.
Am I?
Yeah.
Is that big enough? Or does it need
That
to
looks
be
much. It looks much better.
let me see if this one can be made bigger.
You must be
Can't
on
you
a
do,
high res screen
Command
there.
Plus? Yeah, he is. Can't you do Command Plus? Doesn't that work for you?
I don't know. Let's find out.
You an iTerm? Yeah.
How's that?
That's better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that better enough?
I wish I could make this pencil go away. I guess I can't get it off the screen. I know you guys can't see it, but it's annoying. Anyway, this is the third mug talk that I have given on editors. A long time ago, I talked about Sublime Text, which is a cross-platform GUI editor, and is pretty fast and nice. It hasn't changed a lot in a long time. And I stopped using it a long time ago, even though it's okay, it's pretty nice. I gave a talk a few years ago on Vim. I've been a Vim user for decades. I don't even know how long. I don't even know how long Vim has been its own program that isn't VI. I like Vim. I'm an expert in Vim. I use Vim key bindings everywhere that I reasonably can. One of the places that I do work is in PyCharm, because that's a place where we have to do things at work sometimes. I use the Vim key bindings there. There are other apps where I have Vim key bindings. I believe I have Vim key bindings turned on for my web browser, a couple other places. Vim has some properties that makes it different from other kinds of editors. And probably there's at least two main differences. The number one thing that makes Vim different from almost every other editor on the planet is that Vim is modal. most of the time in Vim, you're in normal mode. And in normal mode, you can do things like move around, make selections, delete a hunk of text. The way Vim works with motions, like a motion might say this whole word or this whole line. In Vim, when you're in normal mode, you can say, by putting D for delete together with a motion like W for word, you put those two letters together and you will delete from the current position of the cursor to the beginning of the next word. Or maybe it's the end of the current word, although that's usually E. So you don't see a selection, it's modal, and you do an action where you specify the action first and then the thing it selects. So those things that I just said, being modal, like in normal mode, you don't insert. You have to go into insert mode. And in insert mode, you can't do any of those things that you could do in normal mode, like undo. Undo is a normal mode action. And in Vim, you undo by using the letter lowercase u. In insert mode, if you type a lowercase u appears in your file. Okay, now let's talk about Helix. Helix is very much a sibling to Vim. It's modal, unlike almost every other editor you might use in the world. For instance, a lot of people use Emacs. Emacs is not modal. Instead, you type more and more complicated keystrokes to make something happen, and you're always in insert mode. Typing a bare U in Emacs puts a U in your file, just like being in insert mode in Vim. In Word, I know it's not a text editor, but it's always in insert mode. Almost every editor in the world is non-modal. Helix is like Vim. It's modal. But in some ways, it's the exact opposite of Vim. In Vim, you do an operation, and then you say what that operation applies to, and then it happens. In every other editor in the world, first, you make a selection, and then you say what operation you want to apply to it. In Word, you make a selection, and then maybe you make that thing bold. In Vim and Helix, they're just text editors. They don't have multiple font sizes and styles within a single file, within a single buffer. You make a selection and you say delete in Helix, or you make a selection and you say surround it with parentheses, something like that. So like Vim, it's modal, but like every other editor in the world, it's selection first, then action. Helix, like Vim, might be on the other end of an SSH connection from you. It doesn't have to be local to your machine. It is a thing you could use instead of Vim if you wanted, except Vim is for sure installed on the remote machine you're connected to, unless you're in some weird, very slim Docker container. You're always going to find Vim. You are never going to find Helix unless you installed it. I'm going to talk about some other differences about Helix as I go through this, but I just wanted you to know up front, Helix is a descendant of Vim. It tries to do all of the good things that Vim does, but mixes in good ideas from other editors. Helix isn't finished. People are still working on it. Vim is pretty much in a finished state, although people continue to do more things to it. But a lot of the development on Vim is people writing plugins. Vim has a language. Vim has a plugin community ecosystem. And Helix doesn't have either of those things right now. They're working on it. Anyway, Helix can be installed either directly through Rust, or I think you can apt to install it. There's a curl command that will install Helix that downloads it from where it lives. On machines that support Homebrew, you can brew install it. And the binary is called HX. So you can see mine lives in the standard cargo directory. And the version I am using is in the neighborhood of 25. You can ask Helix about its health, much the same way that you can ask NeoVim about it. And the health of Helix is usually related to what is installed in Helix with respect to a given language. If I just say Helix -- health, it's going to tell me about every language that it knows. If I ask about a specific language, like for instance, Rust, it will tell me what language server it's connected to, where language server is the thing everybody's talking about these days with the acronym LSP. It might have a formatter. It probably knows about tree sitter and tree sitter queries, like how to highlight things, what objects to use, text objects, and how to indent it. A language that I use a lot is Python, so I care about those things. I'm using Rough as my language server, and maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe I should be using Python LSP, because I've noticed with Rough, some of the things I care about don't work. But I'm going to show you some of these things in just a moment. Here in this other tab, I'm actually running Helix. And in Helix, you can see I have several buffers open. I can switch between buffers using G for go to and P for previous and N for next buffer. But just hitting G does not do what I was expecting it to do. GP takes me to the previous buffer. I'm very surprised G didn't bring up a well, this is weird. Let me make a new tab. And let me make the font bigger.
Yeah.
And then let me go to my .files directory. And let me see that I have a file here. And I will say one of my aliases, if I say type FE is actually a shell function that will open $editor on the file that it finds that has a particular name. You can see here that there is a file called 00numerical.ipy inside my IPython directory. I am going to open that file. Wow, everything is failing for me today. Let's just see if I can directly open it. Okay, and you can see there's no color highlighting here because Helix doesn't know this is a Python file because it has a weird extension. I am going to set language to Python, and now it gets Python highlighting.
Oh, nice.
And you can see here, this is weird. It's not obeying any of my rules. You can see here that it's got a warning. This is not in my file, syntax error. And you can see there's a space between line 13 and line 14 because my cursor is on line 13. It has expanded the errors, the diagnostics, to show exactly what it thinks is wrong. And normally they're pickers.
Okay, but what you're showing is Helix has run a language processor on your Python code, and
It
it's
has
showing you got a
done
syntax error.
exactly that.
Yeah.
If I wonder why I'm not seeing pickers, but if I say, show me the, wow, this is all broken.
Show me the picker.
Yeah, I want to see pickers and I'm not seeing them. And it's also boy, it's not behaving like anything at all. I'm just going to totally close this entire window. I'm going to open a brand new one. I'm going to make a brand new tab. I'm going to go to my .files directory. I'm going to cd into shells, config shells bin. I'm going to hx everything that's a Python file. Okay, now things are working, and I don't know why.
Okay. And you got tabs across the top.
I have tabs across the top. I said open up
Right.
all the Python files. So across the top, you see every file that it opened. G means go somewhere. So when I hit G, a picker shows up on the left.
I see.
If I want to go to the next buffer, I can say G, and here you see N is go to next buffer. So GN takes me to deduplicate path. GN takes me to get platform. GN takes me to get pop topics. if I say space, this lets me pick. So this thing that you see here on the right, this window of what the next character that I type might be, that's not a picker. That is, I don't know what the name for that thing is, but it tells you what you can type next. If you look at this one right here that starts with B, open the buffer picker. Right now I have what looks like 6 buffers open. If I say, and I'm in the mode, I'm in space mode, which you can see by the fact that it says space right here.
Mm-hmm.
If I say space B, this is a picker. And it shows what buffers I have open. It's a fuzzy picker. If I type 1, it's going to go to broken get topics. But if I type B, that's another way to specify broken get topics. So even though I'm all the way in the middle of this list of tabs, if I hit return right now, it's going to go to broken. Now, if you look down here in the bottom right corner, it says there are 2 problems in this file. I could scroll down until I got to one of the problems, like here, or I could have said space, and then so I get to the pickers.
NeoVim calls it the leader menu. Space is
Okay.
your leader key, and there's your leader menu.
You can see that lowercase d is the diagnostics picker. So if I hit D, I will see on the left the list of problems, and on the right, I will see a preview of that specific problem. So if I use the arrow keys, I can go up and down to that specific problem. And if I say return, now that I'm on this one, you can see, because my cursor is on this bad line, and because this is Python, and it's using the Python LSP, I can see exactly what that problem is, and it uses almost all of the same key bindings that Python uses. In Python, if I'm on a character that's the wrong case, I can use the tilde key. I'm going to
When you say when you're in Python, you mean when you're in Vim?
when I'm in Vim,
Yeah.
that's what I meant. You are correct.
Yeah, okay.
Capital R is not what I want. Lowercase r is what I want. And by the way, notice this isn't just a Python error. It's specifically a Python typing error, something that Python by itself doesn't know. You have to know about Python types. When I hit tilde, R turns back into lowercase r. That's right. And now if I say space diagnostics, there's only one. Let's go there. This type name is unknown. But if I go to the C, and just like Python, if I use replace R, and I replace that with D, that's the real thing. Maybe it's going to let me go with G. G is the go key. And you can see here, there is lowercase d, go to definition.
Oh, cool.
Because I'm using rough, it's not finding the right thing. But if I say M inner word, M means match, that will select the whole word, but just the word itself. A lot like Python, a lot like Vim would, when you've installed that plugin. If I say a word, then it also gets the space. But if I say inner word, it only gets the word itself. An interesting and incredibly useful plugin. So useful, in fact, that Jim has installed it for Vim. It's called Surround.
Yeah.
And the thing that you can do with Surround is, for instance, I could put parentheses around this word, or square brackets, or comment markers if this were C, for instance. It's not C. Python doesn't have comment markers that can surround something. It only has pound to comment out the rest of the line. But if I hit M, the block comes up that says what you can do. S will add something to the surrounds. Now I can pick what I want to add. I'll add angle brackets. That's not valid syntax. It instantly added the angle brackets. That became a syntax error. So also instantly I got the warning. But I still have that same selection. If I hit I now, I'm going to go into insert mode, because as you can see down here, I'm in normal mode. I makes me in insert mode and puts the insertion point at the beginning of the selection. So if I said hello right now and then escape, it's exactly like if I had done the surround plugin in Vim, has a key command to surround something with a function name. I just did that exact action, but picking the exact surround character that I wanted. I'm back in normal mode, so U does an undo, and U again undoes that previous surround. And Shift U is a redo. So that's how to undo and redo something. Right at this point is where I want to bring up probably the very most important thing that Vim can do. The most useful key binding in Vim is the dot. Dot in Vim redoes whatever the last thing you did was. In Vim, because you do an action and the thing that it applies to, dot is super useful because it redoes that combination. In Helix, you already have a selection, and when you apply some action to it, the thing you might redo doesn't include what to do it to, because the selection is a thing that already exists. So dot in Helix is significantly less useful than it is in Vim, and that's kind of annoying. It turns out that Helix has a totally different way of doing a thing to multiple things at the same time. You can have multiple selections. So for instance, to select the entire file at once, I'll hit %. Now I've selected a whole bunch of things. It's all one selection, but I can select from inside this by hitting the S key. And now you can see down here in the command line, it says S. And so in here, I can say select.bash. And you can see that there are 8 total selections. And I can step through them with Alt parentheses, or I can do something to all of them at once. For instance, and you can see every one of them that's selected, and which one I'm on. I can hit enter. Now that ends my typing of the regular expression that selected them. Now is where I could step through them, or I could say M and then S to surround add. And now I want to surround them with backticks. Now every single bash in the whole file is surrounded with backticks. If I scroll through, every place you see a selection, .bash now has backticks around it. In a way, this is great. In a way, you don't need Vim's dot. When I first learned about this, I was very skeptical because, for instance, this is how they do replace. And I don't like that. It was very bothersome to me. It turns out that most of your replaces really are just this simple. You get on bash, they're all selected, you hit C, they all go away, and you now are in insert mode, because C means change, just like it does in Vim, which means delete whatever thing you said to delete and go into insert mode. And now I can type something totally brand new, and every place that I had typed bash, I can now type .fish and hit return or whatever. And maybe that was the right thing. And hitting comma makes you select just one thing. This could be what you want, or maybe you wanted something really complicated. And it turns out Helix can't do the complicated thing. But what it can do is you can run sed. And you can type in sed substitute for .bash. You can substitute .fish. And now every place that it did say .bash, it now says .fish. And the thing that you can do in Vim, and you can also do in sed, is you can do capture groups, and you can make decisions based on what was inside your capture group and make a replacement based on that capture group. So Helix actually doesn't need to be able to do capture groups because sed can, and you can always call sed. I'm not sure I'm 100% satisfied by that, but it's something. I'm gonna I'm gonna say undo, and every single one turned back. Were you gonna say
Yeah.
something?
In in your example there, you were changing dot bash to dot fish, but isn't dot like a wild card?
It is.
So it could have been any character in front of bash.
That is correct. If
Yeah,
I
that would have
specifically
been dangerous. Yeah.
if I specifically wanted to do exactly the right thing, because I know it's accepting a regular expression, I would
Yeah.
have said slash dot.
Slash dot, sure.
Yeah. So just like I could bring up a buffer picker, another kind of picker that I can bring up is the very first thing is a file picker. So
Oh.
here's a file picker, and it's fuzzy, just like every other kind of picker that can come up. I can bring up a explorer, which can see invisible files, starts at the current directory, will let you go up to higher and higher directories. So there's the Vim directory, and there's my vimrc. And you can see my vimrc is very big. It has to define all kinds of things. But the configuration file for Helix is very small. This is my entire configuration file. And this right here is what defines what kind of diagnostics I see. Everything that's a warning or worse will show up in line. This defines my cursor shapes. And here are some special key bindings that I've defined for myself. Now, what Jim said about Vim's leader key, in Vim, for me, that's the space key. Here, I've defined a bunch of keys that when you're in normal mode and you hit backspace, this is what you can hit next. So I'm in normal mode right now, and I'm going to hit backspace. And look, without me doing anything, it brings up the box that tells me what all those next options are. And two of them are A for set line numbers absolute and R for set line numbers relative. Right now, my line numbers are absolute. So you can see that even though my insertion point is on line 36, it shows up as 36. If I set backspace R, now, just like in Vim, I have relative line numbers. So a thing that's 6 lines away, like set white space render none, has 6. Whereas it will show me that the line I'm on is really line 36. If I hit
So move up a
backspace,
couple of lines. No, leave it like that, but move your current line up. Yeah, so those relative numbers change. Neat.
yep. Let me go back to absolute line numbers. And a thing I often have to do is I have to show the invisible characters. If I hit, I'm in normal mode. So if I hit backspace capital W, now you can see a dot for the space character, a funny little bent arrow for the return character. If I had any tabs in here, like, let me insert at the beginning. Tabs, I have tabs set to insert spaces. So all you see is spaces. I actually don't know how to insert a tab. That's kind of weird. Sorry about that. And of course, if I want to buffer close, but not write it, I can pick that. And now I'm in normal mode. I'll hit backspace lowercase w, makes all those weird things go away. Let me see
I think I know how you might be able to insert a tab.
Yeah.
At least in Vim it works. Control V, Control I when you're in the insert mode.
I'm not sure that will work, but let's give it a try. First, let me turn on show invisibles, and now let me say insert, and now let me say Control V.
Oh, it just showed up as a V.
Yeah, I don't know.
What happens if you just type Control I?
Control I. No,
It just shows up in an I. Doesn't care about your control key.
yeah, it doesn't. Anyway.
Okay, just thought that would be an idea.
Back in normal mode. So there's lots of pickers. For instance, if I say slash and look for auto command, it's just like Vim. It picked the closest auto command, and N, just like Vim, switches me through. But if I say space slash auto command, oops. Maybe I need to say G. Global search in workspace folder. Okay, that's not my workspace folder. Let me go to pick a different buffer. And now if I say, let me turn off that stupid white space stuff. Now if I say space slash, I am in my workspace buffer. And if I say path, then you can see on the right here, the preview. The left shows the files and lines where path appears. You'll notice in the selected line here, what it found was resolved path. If instead of typing path, I type path, but with word boundaries on both sides, then there are far fewer matches, and my screen is not wide enough to show you where it matched path. Here, you can see the path on this line. And here, but not here. It's almost the very first thing on this line. Here it is. And if I hit return, I'll go right there, even though it's in a different buffer. That search was across to every file in my workspace. And my workspace was the place where I was when I opened these files. And that was /bin. If I say :pwd, that's a synonym for what the workspace is. And you can see that the workspace was /bin inside of that whole long thing. of where my shells were. I want to show other things that, oh, this is very important. If I say space, if you look at the very last item here, open command palette, this shows you every command and key binding and piece of simple documentation for that thing. And just like the other pickers, this is fuzzy matching. So for instance, I can type selection, and it will tell me about everything that's a selection. Or I can say percent bindings, and I can say everything that has a K in it. Or, for instance, I know I can step between the selections if I use a parentheses key. So I just type parentheses. A thing that you can see here is this is Python, and I have functions. So if I say square bracket, this turns out to be things provided by the combination of tree sitter and the specific tree sitter syntax queries file for this language. I typed a right bracket. If I now type F, I'll go to the next function. And it picked is new path. If I type square bracket F, it now picks main. If I type left square bracket and F, it goes to the previous function. And it knows all of this stuff because of tree sitter. If I open up with space shift E, and I go up to source, this .rs means it's a Rust file. Now, this Rust file is in the middle of being worked on. So as you can see right here at line 4, this function isn't ready yet. It doesn't have a body, it doesn't have a type. I was in the middle of entering this function. The Rust analyzer is better than Rust, is better than Rough, which is what I was using for Python. So when I find args, like I have right here on line 31, here, if I say go to, and then lowercase d is go to definition, that isn't. If I go say lowercase r, go to references, it brings up a picker of every place I use args. So here's a place where I use it, and here's where it's defined. So let's go to where I use it.
I got a question for you. You mentioned several times the word tree sitter, but I don't know what that is.
Tree sitter is a tree sitter is a parser construction kit, and it is not specific to Helix. There are tree sitter plugins for Vim, for Emacs, for VS Code, for lots of things.
Fine. And what does it do?
Tree sitter takes what are called query definition files.
Yeah.
And those definition files explain to Tree Sitter how to parse a specific language. And given those definition files for a specific language, Tree Sitter gives that editor the power to syntax highlight that language,
Okay.
go to specific kinds of structures in that language, like function definitions,
Definitions. Okay.
function
and what is-
user.
So what's indexing all your function definitions? Because you're in the editor and it knows about it knows where that function is defined, even if it's in a different file.
So it's a combination of Tree Sitter and the LSP for that language.
Okay. Okay.
The LSP is the thing that understands exactly what instances of a specific string are uses of that variable.
Okay.
So for instance, you might use I all over the place,
Right.
but when you are changing a specific I that's in a for loop, it doesn't mean any of those other I's.
Okay.
Tree Sitter can find all the I's.
Okay.
The LSP can find the I's that are specific to that loop.
Okay.
So that's what I mean.
It's a lot more
Um,
advanced than the way I edit files.
I'm gonna do that thing again where first I select the entire file and then I use select and then I say just find the instances of print line that end with an exclamation point. And then I'm going to hit return. And now you see down here that there are 4 total selections. I don't know why this says nothing selected. That doesn't seem right to me. But an important thing to know is that the way I install Helix is I actually have a clone of the Helix repo, and I go to the tip of master and I build it.
Okay.
And
Bugs and all.
bugs and all. And
Yeah.
that is not the released version of Helix. That's the version of Helix that has bugs.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can expect weird stuff to happen. So right now I have 4 selections and I can step through them. I'm not using a very good theme. You can sort of tell that on line 48, that
Yeah.
one is slightly darker.
Sure.
That's the primary selection. And if I say alt parentheses, maybe I only have to say, you can see I'm stepping through them. And I think I can remove one by saying alt C. No. That's not right. I think I can remove it by saying alt K. Nope. Let's say space, question mark, and then look for alt comma. So right now, the print line on line 49 is the primary selection. And if I say alt comma, now I only have 3 total selections. And so I can do something to just those 3. For instance, surround them with square brackets. Yes, that's a horrible syntax error, but I specifically
Right.
excluded the one I wanted to exclude.
Right.
A thing you can't do in Helix is you can't make a multiple selection of a whole bunch of totally different things. If you're going to make a multiple selection, it starts with usually selecting some huge range, typically the entire file, hitting S, and then defining a regular expression that picks just the things inside that bigger selection that you want. I don't know of a way, and maybe it's possible, I don't know of a way to start with some existing set of selections and add something brand new to it. Usually, if you move the insertion point, like with the arrow keys right now, that won't do what you want. Now, just like Vim, H, J, K, and L will move the insertion point. And because I have multiple selections, moving the insertion point will move multiple selections. It will drop. It's on the exclamation point right now. If I hit H, it's going to drop the bulk of that selection and just select the N and so forth. Like that. It's easy to interact with external programs, very much the way you would with Vim. Let me select all the print lines again. This is just an example. So I've selected them all, and now I'm going to pipe those into TR, where I substitute for anything that's in the range A to Z, the range capital A to capital Z. Here's what's going to happen. It is going to call TR 4 times because there's 4 selections. And it's going to run TR with those parameters on each selection. It's going to take the output and replace the selection with that. At least that's what I hope will happen. Oh, it happened. That's exactly what I wanted. Very nice. I think at this point, what I want to do, I want to show you one more thing, and that is I want to show a couple of things. I want to show one thing. Let me go to args. I'm going to drop all the selections down to 1. I'm going to use my absolute favorite G command. G is go to, if you remember. And if you see this last thing here, GW, GW puts character pairs on every reasonable word you might go to. And if you see here on line 31, that's where I defined args. If I say CI right now, that puts my cursor on the word args. And now I can say space, and if you see R here, R is rename symbol. This is a feature given to it by the LSP. So if I say rename, If you see down here on the command line, it says rename to, and it starts me with args. I'm going to say rename to really stupid name. And what happens is, using the LSP, it doesn't just replace every use of args. It replaces only the ones that were actually a use of this one right here. And the only place that was used was on line 46. And it replaced both of them. And just
So
like
this is really good at refactoring things.
It is. It's
Yeah.
really good. And it does it for every language.
Yeah.
Now, I did have to, it has a default idea of what LSP you should be using. I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to quit everything without saving anything. And I'm going to do hx -- health Perl. And it says that if it had its choice for an LSP, for a language server, for Perl, it would use a binary called Perl Navigator. But Perl Navigator is not installed on my machine. So if I tried to edit a Perl file, it wouldn't be able to do some of those LSP-specific things,
Sure.
like renaming a symbol.
Right.
But it does have the tree sitter parser for Perl. It's got all the queries. And that means if I had a Perl file somewhere, which I don't, it would be able to syntax highlight Perl, find functions in Perl, step between them, use a function as a text object, all kinds of things like that. All I have to do is find Perl Navigator, and I'd be able to do everything with Perl that I can do with everything else. So yes,
if
there
you
is
wanted to
stuff
edit Perl.
install. Yes.
Yeah. If only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's where I've run. Oh, there is one more thing I want to show. And that is, I like to use this theme, One Light. I don't know if you guys were watching the command line. But if you say theme, and then you hit space, like you're going to type the name of a theme, it lists all the themes that are built in. I can hit, anytime you have this, I don't even know what you call this thing that pops up. You probably saw it when I was saying things like buffer closed. Tab works on this thing. So you can pick.
It's like, yeah, it's like completion.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I'm showing themes, if I hit tab, it not only goes on to a theme name, it also demonstrates that theme in the file you're looking at right now.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. And as it happens, I am going to open my config file, and the very first thing I say in my theme, and there's something about TOML files it doesn't like when you specify global options. My default theme is OneLight, because unlike every other person on the fucking planet, I like a light background and darker foreground text. I don't know why everybody else is the opposite of that, but they are.
Because it's
all right.
Because the other way is better.
Now,
That's fine.
now it's time for questions.
I have a question about picking LSPs, which is also relevant for NeoVim. There's always several choices. Do you have any tips on how to pick a good one that does what it's supposed to do? Some of them don't work right.
That's mostly a web search.
Okay.
What I'm gonna do right now is I am going to uh, um, let me through install, maybe it's PyLSP. I should probably be web searching for this. Oh, that's good. And now, if I go into Helix slash dot config slash Helix. So you see this languages.toml file? Here you see what I've configured, and you can see on line 17 that I've said rough is my language server. If I change that to be Python LSP server, and then I go back to where I was, and I see all those Python files. And I edit them all. Now I ought to be able to do some of those things, like go to references. God damn it. Nope. Okay. Yes, the answer to your question, Jim, is to find out what the best LSP is for the language you care about. It's probably a Google search.
Okay. Well, I found that some they parse make files to figure out the architecture of your code, and others parse CMake files, speaking for C and C++ code. So that can be a determiner of your choice. I know that.
So it understands a lot of different syntaxes of things that you might not even consider to be like languages. Like it doesn't know Vim files, but it does know TOML and JSON and just files and make files and any files and all kinds of things like that. I think it knows over 300 different files. 370 maybe.
Wow.
Yeah. Other questions? So let me say, exactly like Vim, this editor is not for everyone. Vim has been my favorite editor for a very long time. I really know Vim. I know how to do whatever needs to be done. I really like Vim. I'm very comfortable in Vim. I've written documents about Vim. I've given videos and lectures about Vim. I've only used this editor for 5 or 6 months, and I like it better than Vim. It's not finished, and I like it better than Vim. It's got bugs in it, and I like it better than Vim. There's at least 2 or 3 reasons why I like it better than Vim, and one of them is just the way it shows errors. I have it set up right now that it will show an error at the end of every line, and if your insertion point is on that line, it will expand the space between lines and show everything about that error in detail right there below the place where the error is. That by itself is enough. Now I know you can do stuff to configure Vim to make that happen, but this just does it. It uses almost all of Vim's key bindings, but it does it in the way almost every other editor in the world works, where it's selection first. The thing that's so great about Vim, that it's modal, Helix copies. So I have switched almost totally to Helix. But every place where I have to use Vim, like when I'm connecting to some remote machine that I don't control and Vim is installed and Helix isn't, I still use Vim and I'm still happy to use Vim. But when I have a choice, it's Helix. So let me tell you what the takeaways are, because I didn't cover those. First of all, Helix is easy. It's easy to install. It's easy to learn. It's easy to use. It's even easy to build. Let me show you how easy to build it is. If I go to my Helix directory, so here it is in the place where I keep source. If I list what's there, it's got a bunch of Helix packages. You can see it's a .git directory. And all I have to do to build it is say, essentially, cargo build. I do it slightly more complicated than that, because I want it to also find a specific runtime, and I want it to be installed, not just built. So I say this long thing. But when I say that, it just does it. It's easy, and it works on every single platform. I've been working with open source for a long time, and the typical build command for open source is that you clone the repo, you make sure you have the right tools installed, you make configure, and then you configure blah blah blah, and then you make, or something like that. I can't remember anymore. When you have a Rust program, it's mostly just cargo build or cargo installed, maybe with a couple of options if you want something special. And it pretty much always works. And it pretty much always works on every platform. That was thrilling to me. Let me go back to the takeaways. It's modal, just like Vim and NeoVim, but it's select first, then act, which is the opposite of Vim and NeoVim, but is the way almost all other editors work. And its batteries included, even though it doesn't have a language of its own for writing plugins, even though it doesn't have plugins, they are working on those things. The language it's going to have, as far as we all understand and know, is a kind of scheme specifically called Steel. Everybody who uses Emacs says schemes or Lisps are the best possible language for an editor. I don't know if that's true, but that's the plan. They do want to have a language. They do want to have plugins. They do think there are specific kinds of things that should be plugins. So that's on the horizon. It's fast. It's written in Rust. It does things fast. I love it. It's great. It's under active development, which plain old Vim, I don't think really is, except in the plugin department. NeoVim might be under as active development as Helix. But Helix is good and young and active. And I think, absent any more questions, that's about all I have to say. Are there any more questions? Oh, easy to
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
You have a wonderful little utility that allow us to see on the screen the key you were pressing.
Yes.
What utility
Because
is
I'm
that?
on a Mac. There's a couple programs on the Mac that do that. The particular program I am using is called Keystroke Pro. I have two different programs, and each of them is unsatisfying to me. I picked the one that was the least unsatisfying. The problems with these two programs, with this program, the problem is I want to show you a sequence of commands like space F opens a file picker, but this shows the space character and then replaces that image with the F character. I don't like that. I want to show space F. I want to show them both at the same time. I also can't set the size. I wanted the character to show up very big. This is a thing you turn on and off. This one costs money. The other one, I couldn't place anywhere on the screen that I wanted. I think I could adjust the screen, the size. And it did show multiple character sequences all at the same time, but it was ugly and you couldn't change its location on the screen. So I forget what that one is called, but this one is called Keystroke Pro. The other one was free. It was open source. This one cost money, but not very much. Does that answer your question?
One more thing. Is there a version of any of these that work with Windows?
I believe there is. I don't happen to know their names, but I think it is the case you can do this same thing on Windows, but not with these exact programs.
Okay, thank you very much.
I think it was on Windows first, by the way. Anything else?
Very, very cool. Thanks,
I'll
Wolf.
bet I haven't convinced you, Jim.
No, I'm perfectly happy working the way I work.
Thanks, Wolf.
Yeah, that was
My
excellent.
pleasure.
I know you put a lot of work into this, and that's there's some neat things there. So let's see, the next meeting, August 12th, I think I said, August 12th. Hopefully it'll be Sharon Kawani. I'll firm it up with him and post it to the website and send out the announcement. I'll mention our podcast again. Wolf and I have a podcast called Runtime Arguments. We've done 6 episodes now, I think. And we'll be
Not
putting out another one
100%
this Saturday.
Yes, another one this Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah. So available wherever you get your podcasts from. Anything else
And
we
they're
want to discuss?
reasonably short.
Yeah. Yeah. 28 minutes is the shortest one, an hour and 7 minutes is the longest one. And we'll probably stay in the middle there most of the time. Anything else you want to cover before we shut her down?
Nothing from
Thank
me.
everybody for coming. Really appreciate it. It's nice to see a good turnout. And Lansing guys, make sure you tell Joe what he missed.
I encourage everybody, even though I didn't convince you to make it a permanent part of your toolbox, give Helix a try and see what you think. It'll mean more to you to type into it than hearing me talk about it.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. I'm gonna shut it down. Everybody,
See you next time.
see y'all later. Yeah. Bye-bye.